done it, so we're actually doing it properly.
Yeah.
Right, setting up the meeting for YouTube.
Yeah, it says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. Right. And you've frozen.
Yeah, it's because it's setting up. I think it just takes a minute to open up.
Let me have a look.
And my sister is just buffering away. Let's see. Right.
Oh, did you try this out? Did you try this out last night? Because the video's on there where it says Dawn and Selena Spirit Guide streamed 15 hours ago, and it's you sitting outside.
Oh, okay. Oh. Right, it started. We have started streaming, so we should be there.
Right, I can't see us.
One watching, that's me. Let me just go through Infinite Soul Center channel.
All I can see is you last night sitting outside.
Yeah, no, we are there, but I haven't got. Why haven't I got us live? All I've got.
So if I go into the event on Facebook.
No, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, but there's a link there, isn't there, that takes you to it?
Yeah. Okay, because all I've got is a blank screen where it says live, but there's. Oh no, we're here. Okay, we've got it.
Are we on?
Yeah. Right, give me 1 sec. Let me close down that window. Technical issues. We'll get there in the end. Yes, we're live. Yay! And hi, ladies. I can't stay here for long, but I hope you're both well. I hope you're both great. And that's from D. McNicholas. Oh, hello, darling. So
yeah, that's Darnie. Yeah, Darnie's just messaged me and said, "Oh, you're live." So we definitely are.
And Sasha Louise. Hi, Sasha. Hi. Well, we're a few technical issues. We're still a bit new to this. As you might be able to see, but welcome everybody to myself and Dawn Smith from Infinite Soul Circle, and Dawn's here today to speak about her amazing connection with her spirit guides, and she has such a connection and has had so many experiences. You're just a well of knowledge. So if you have any questions a bit later on, we'll have a look and you can ask Dawn. But first of all, Dawn, how did this all start?
Well, that's a really good question. And do you know what? I was thinking about this. I was anticipating this question today. And actually, I feel that it happened in two parts. And the first part was when I was very young. So I was a small child, around about 10 or sort of 8 to 12 years old. I was very sensitive, very empathic. And I was very lucky because that was just accepted within my family. My family are quite spiritual. And my great uncle was a spiritualist healer. And he used to come and visit us. And when he did, he used to give us healing. So he used to give healing to my mum, but he also used to give healing to me as a child. And when we're children, we're just very accepting. We just accept things. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I didn't really understand it as such. But on one of those sessions, he did go into a very deep connection while he was giving me healing. And at that point, actually, one of my guides came through, although I was unaware of it at the time. So what happened was he was in a deep connection, giving me healing, and then his voice changed. And I had my eyes closed, and I remember thinking, oh, that's not right. What's that? So I opened my eyes, and he was still there. My uncle was there, but there was this voice as he was speaking, and I can't remember word for word, so I'm not going to make it up, but it was along the lines of, don't be afraid, my dear one, and I am always with you, and I'm here to protect you. And he gave the name One Feather. And at the time, I didn't really, I knew something had happened, but I didn't try and do anything with it. I didn't try and overly understand it. It was more like, oh, something's happened and that's wonderful. And my uncle didn't remember what had happened while he was in his deep state of connection. And I told my mom, and she was like, oh, that's wonderful. And then I just carried on with life. And I just didn't even really pay it any attention. And then later on, so obviously life goes on, and many, many years later, so I was just before I restarted my development in earnest, I started to go to Circle. And when I started to go to Circle, I was going for about 6 months or so, 6 to 8 months, still in the very, very early stages. And my tutor, how dare she, decided to go on holiday for 3 weeks. And she said, your homework is to sit in your power. And I was like, okay, that's easy. I can do that. And the first week I tried to sit in my power, and I could get into it, but I couldn't stay in it for very long. So maybe 5 minutes, something like that. And then after a week, I thought I'm really going to give it a good go. You know, I'm really going to try. And I sort of, with discipline, decided that I was really going to do it, and I was going to be dedicated and sit every day. And so I did. I sat every day. And over a period of about 6 to 10 weeks, I was able to sit for longer and longer and longer. And then things started to happen for me. So I think at the time when I sat in my power, I didn't have an expectation. I didn't think I'm going to sit in my power because I want to speak to my guides, because I was so into the mediumship side of things. I just thought, oh, spirits are going to come in. So I wasn't expecting it. And then I really started to feel changes. So as I sat, the longer I sat, the more I realized my own energy, what I felt like. And then all of a sudden, I started to feel a pressure coming in on one side. And I was like, oh, I don't know what that is. And again, you see, when you sit on your own and you don't have a tutor with you, you sort of accept that responsibility yourself. So instead of me saying to my tutor, what was that? I'm asking, actually, that feels different. What is that? And then really things did start to change, because I started to move. My hands started to move. And to a point where I was like, am I doing this? How is this happening? But my hands were going to my energy centers. So I was actually being given healing. And I really then started to think something is happening, and I don't know what it is. And it was then that the journey really began, because I started asking questions, and I started to see not visions, but very quick images in my mind, but they weren't they weren't in color, they were a silhouette. So I would sit and I would see like a landscape in front of me, sort of mountains or trees, and then I would see some color, and I would look down, and it would be, the earth would be sort of like a red clay or sand. And then I started asking questions like, is this, can I see a mountain? And then my head started going, because I do believe we are pendulums. And it was like, am I seeing trees? Yes. And I didn't know what this landscape was, but I felt, and I was like, I feel like I'm in America. Yes. And then it began like, what is it? Who are you? And through this process, I established that I was either going mad or it was a guide. And that's really how it began for me.
That's really interesting, because one of my questions is how did you know it wasn't your imagination? Because like everybody, we all talk to ourselves, and I answer myself. But obviously this feeling was so strong that you knew that it wasn't yourself. And how did it come about that you recognized that this energy was your spirit guide and not a past loved one? Was that just through questioning, or how did that come about?
Yes, I mean, it felt completely different. And when you say about how do you know that it wasn't your imagination, it's like when you sit without expectation and you begin to, even without realizing it, you begin to realize what you feel like, what your energy is, what's normal for you. And then when I did start to feel something different, I knew that something was coming in. And because I had sat in circle as well, I did sort of, I knew, I just, there's like that knowing. I knew that it wasn't my loved ones. It couldn't be, because of the images that I was getting. And also with the healing, I did ask if it was my great uncle, because he was a healer. Is it you? And it was no. And then I was like, are you a guide? And it was yes. And then I was really excited. I was absolutely ignited, as in, right, I've really got something here. And as I started to sit regularly, I was like, I used to sit and I was like, right, show me something else. You've shown me the trees, you've shown me the mountains, now show me something else. Then I started to see different outlines, always showing me trees, always showing me trees. And I feel as well the type of, I'm not a very visual person. So when I sit, so when my eyes are closed and it's dark, I am seeing in shadow or silhouette. So I'm not ever really seeing in color. But then I started to get some really vivid images. And so I knew that that was not my imagination. It couldn't be, because I have a bit of a strange thing going on, that I only see part of a body, not whole. So I usually see from the waist down, or I see legs or whatever. And I was shown an image of an American native Indian. I could see his sort of from the waist down.
And he was dressed.
He was. Nice, Tommy. And he was walking like through a wood, or like a forest or whatever. But he was walking along, and I could see like he had like a sort of the leathery type trousers or whatever he had on. And I remember seeing it, and it was to this side. I'll never forget it. So it wasn't in front of me, it was to the side. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, like, wow. I couldn't believe it. And then I said, show me again. If this is real, show me again.
Always wanting more proof.
Always wanting more. It's never enough. Yeah. And he did. He showed me again. And then I was like, right, okay, this is real.
Fabulous.
And also at that time, because it was so early on in my development, I was still understanding how I was going to use my senses. And I ended up through this reunion, I learned so much because he showed me actually how I was going to use my senses. And that's how, because of the moving, so I'm feeling all of the time and knowing. So a lot of this, it came in because of, like, I feel like some people feel that they need to see their guide, but it's so much more than that. It is so much more than that. And without actually seeing him, apart from him waist down, on that one occasion, I was able to know his name, who he was, like, you know, that he was my life guide, so to speak, and so much about his life, how he lived.
How did he show you his name, or how did you pick up on his name? Because he didn't just sit there and give it to you. Well, how did that come about?
It did happen over a couple of sessions, because what he did, he was showing me these images, and actually it built my confidence with him. And as we were sort of working together, and I said to him about, you're my guide, and I just had this knowing feeling that it was more. It was such an intense feeling. And because he's moving me all the time, so excuse me, he was sort of showing me from a child, like growing up and becoming older. And then I'm making that association. So you're with me through my life? Yes. Are you my life guide? Yes. And then I was like, okay, so what's your name? Who are you? And he kept trying to put something in my hair. He kept bringing my hand up, putting something in my hair. And because I'm on my own, I can say things without feeling stupid. So I'm like, you're trying to put something in my hair? Yes. What is it? Holding my hands out like this, and then placing something in my hand. Then I'm holding something up and I'm doing sort of this. And I'm like, is it? And I'm basically going through the questions, having that realization, oh, it's a feather. Now, bearing in mind that I'd already experienced him in my teens, at that point, I still didn't make the connection. And then I was like, oh, it's a feather. Yes. And then he went like this, and I was, oh, one. And then the penny dropped, and I was like, oh my goodness, you're one feather. And we've met before. And he was like, yes.
He was probably like, at last she's got it.
the immediate, it was like, I felt euphoric, that the emotion was incredible. And I just felt that I felt untouchable at that time. And I felt completely out of normal life, shall we say, and in this bubble, just this bubble with him. And I remember saying, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. But having moved on now, I realized that the time wasn't right, because he was very busy in the period that I didn't have his awareness, because my life was chaos. And he was busy supporting and helping me. And it wasn't the time for him to come forward for the reunion as such. So yes, it was it was a case of me probing and finding the way of communication. And then as we'd progressed, and he started to tell me about his life, so where he lived, how he lived.
And again, tell us a little bit about how he lived, because it's really interesting.
Yeah, so he started to tell me about his life within his tribe. So he was a Native American Indian, and he told me how he lived, how he met his partner or his wife, and he had 2 children. Oh, actually, yeah, he had 2 children. He had a dog and a horse. He lived the tribe was quite big. There was about 1,000 people in the tribe. They were a peaceful tribe. His father, when he was 19, his father was taken by another tribe, by a Sioux tribe, and he was sacrificed or killed, his father. And it was actually One Feather that found his father hanging. And at that point, he was about 18 or 19. And what happened was that he tells me that at that point, he stopped being a boy and became a man. Because then and bearing in mind, we're talking about a different lifetime. So, you know, things were different then. He then, alongside his tribe, took revenge on the tribe that took his father. And he sort of avenged for that. And he took the life of the man that took his father's life. And it was then that he became One Feather, because he was the warrior. And One Feather signifies warrior and brave. And then he was then elevated within the tribe. But he tells me about a simple life, a life of gathering crops and, you know, for the colder months that they used to gather and store for themselves and for the animals, that they had a community area where they used to sit and the children would play. They kept all of their animals. And there was a beautiful stream. And his horse was called Star. It was a Palomino horse. I mean, I'm saying all this, and as I'm saying it, I cannot believe that I've had this window of opportunity to learn and understand about another's life.
Yeah.
And he used to use his horse as like a confidant to talk to about any of his fears or anything like that, because he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that with, put that onto his wife or onto his children. And he used to dress his horse at the river if they went into battle. So he used to make paint from resin from the plants and the trees and the water, and would put it on his hands and put his handprints on the horse and the different markings. So the paint or the resin would be red. So if the horse was injured, the opposing side wouldn't see it. And, you know, different symbols and the like. And, you know, he's got a wonderful sense of humor, because he used to say that it took such a long time to get it off of the horse afterwards. But also, I mean, I'm wearing a blue stone today. I'm wearing a Larimar, but he used to wear a blue stone as well. And he had a blue breastplate as well that he used.
Oh, fantastic. So he used to come through to show you his life, but then also does he give you messages for you, or for you know, how to cope with life? What's his purpose as a life guide? To help you on your journey, or to be around? And Kerry's actually written, do you have a constant connection with him, like a friendship?
Oh, yes.
And then we get on, there's another question, can anyone achieve that? But we'll get back towards the end. But yeah, so what's his purpose there? Is he just to, you know, to show you his life, or what does he bring to you?
Well, knowing his life was really something that I wanted and needed, because I am a person that wants evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see and to know. And it also allowed me to let him into my life, having that knowledge of him. But as a life guide, and I've learned so much from him. So this is, you know, from him. And he is here because we crafted together my soul's contract before I came back. As we all do, onto this earth. So we chose each other so that he can help me to ascend as an incarnate soul, and I can also help him to ascend as a disincarnate soul. And we have been together and entwined together over many lifetimes. So I have experienced him in other lives as well. And so we made the contract together, and then I've come back onto the earth plane, and he is, although he is unseen, he has the script. Mm-hmm. And when I've come back, the pause button has been pressed and I have no knowledge of that. I've got to make my own way. But he is like my internal navigation system. And as we all have our intuitive gifts, our gut instinct, we listen to our higher self. He is communicating the whole time. And actually, and I have some things that I can read later, but, at times sometimes when we feel we need it the most, when we ask, our guide is there, but it is us that walks this pathway. And there are so many avenues, so many choices that we can make in which direction we go. And each one is covered. I mean, my contract must be like this. It must be massive. If she goes down there, it's going to be this, or if she goes down there.
I
said left. So actually, what he's doing is he steps back slightly to allow me to make the choice, but he's always, it's like the whisper in the ear. It's like when you make that decision and you feel the certainty, this is the right thing for me. So they work in very many different ways. I mean, I feel his presence. He's here now. I can feel him now. I'm so familiar with his energy. And it's such a comfort to me because I know and understand that I am never alone. And to understand that I have a contract and that it's not all by chance as such, that helps me as well. And the thing is whatever, it's funny within this relationship because yes, he did tell me about his life and he tells me about how he can help and assist me, but it's not going to be him that makes the decisions. It's going to be about me. And he's also here to make me, he talks about it as my personality. So when we first got together, he said to me, your personality needs work. And I was a bit like,
who are you?
We've only just met.
Cheeky.
What do you mean? And he's shown me so much about, he's made me really look at myself and how I deal with situations. I've learned a lot about ego, about looking at things in a broader view, understanding why people react the way that they do, that it's, and to love and understand. I mean, ascension is a beautiful thing, but in fact, it is incredibly simple.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say hard. Moving back from the ego.
Because we're here and we're striving for things and we want to achieve things and we want to be good at things. Of course we do. But to ascend is to be compassionate and understand, because that's what this world needs. And what he shows me is that because when we were sitting in the power, we got to a point where he was doing this. He wanted me to write. And so this is how I've progressed through channeled messages, because we got to a point where there was so much he wanted to say and I couldn't get it enough. And so through that writing, he has showed me that if I go to him and say, oh, well, this has happened and I'm really annoyed about this, and then I would find that he wasn't actually talking about me. He was getting me to understand the situation and where another person is coming from, and how for me to understand that diffuses that situation instead of layering and it becoming about me or it escalating. And I found so much peace in this relationship, and I call it a relationship because it is that important to me. I would be absolutely, it's not as intense as it was, because as I learned with him over, say, a 10-month period where he was with me all the time, and to the point where I'd be driving and I could feel his energy come in, and I was like, hello, how you doing?
Did your husband not get jealous?
Well, you know, you say that. I used to say to him, I'm just going to go and sit with my guides. And he'd say, what? Because he doesn't get it. But, you know, he would be like, oh, so you're just going to go upstairs, and who are there? And I'd be like, well, there's one feather.
With a lovely chest, bare-chested with his leather pants on.
Oh, there's Romley, he's a Viking, and then I've got Jonathan and Peter. So, yeah, but at that time, it was all I wanted to do. I used to sit and I was like, show me, teach me, teach me. And sometimes I feel like when I came into my development, it was always about, I want this, I want to learn, and I want to talk to spirit, but I've been taught so much about myself, because the key to all of this, is my understanding, is self-awareness. The more self-aware we become, the more we live in the present moment, we heighten our energy, we elevate, and things start falling into place naturally. So, yeah.
And with that, you help so many people. But one of the things I wanted to also say is when you started writing, you started channeling written messages, how did that come about? Did you just feel inclined to pick up a pen and start writing? And what was your first message? Because you keep your messages, don't you?
Yeah.
So what was your first message?
Well, oh, right, okay. So I have my book. So this is the type of writing that I actually do, and you'll see it's quite difficult to interpret.
There's no pauses. Oh, okay. I was just going to say it's all joined together.
It's all like, because it's the energy, it just flows. It's just all in one. So I was sitting in my power. We were having a chat, as we do, and he just kept going like this. And I was like, oh, you writing? Are you a writer? You know, completely off track. Are you an author? Do you want to be an author? And then I was like, actually, do you want me to write? Do you want me to write? Yes. So I got up, went and got my pen. And so I'll just see if I've got the very first one here. I don't know if I have actually, because I think
or if not, one of the messages that you feel has helped you, or well, just one that you feel drawn to, because it would just be lovely to hear what he says.
Absolutely. So there was one that I'd planned. I've just got to find it now, because I went back to the front. I have marked it, so just bear with me. Did I answer Kerry's question?
Well, it's really about if anybody else can achieve that, but I was going to come to after your because then you can give us some tips of how we can all connect, and a little bit more information about guides.
Okay, so I'm gonna read this. So you'll have to bear with me, because there are no pauses. I may stop to try and work out what I've actually written. But please bear in mind, so this is personal for me. So he's writing to me at a stage in my development where I was unsure if I could even do it. And so we're at the very beginning stages. So he says here, I can say that our connection is one of the strongest. It is our prize to see each other soon. I will be of another world, and you will be of your world, but we will see each other because it is time to prepare for the next stage of your development. I can say that you must be in a sound mind to experience this, so it will be at a time when you are aware of our connection, and then I will come. you will be able to see me in your peripheral vision, and you will see me in full warrior dress, as this is important to me in my lifetime. I am to say that you will be amazed at my appearance and that you will begin to cry at the enormity of what you have seen. It will be life-changing, and you will not be able to still your familiarity of me. I can say that as a girl, you did see me once, and that you were unable to understand what you had seen, as you were a baby and you were in a cot with your mum by your side, and you did not cry. You just looked at me with a knowing of what had gone before, and that was the first time I laid eyes on you. And I said then that you were a present of the gods upon the earth. I am at last able to tell you that you are indeed a person of present day people who will be able to see our spirits outside of our bodies. And this means that you are a light worker of significance, and that you will be a person of a completely different spiritual experience. It is a new era and a newly written pathway that is about to unfold. So it is an important time to say that our work is needed. I am in a very privileged position to tell you this, and I'm going to announce that you are a scholar of the new age of spiritualism, and that you will be a conduit and a scholar of the new age. I am able to tell you this as I know you are aware of something new awakening, and knowing you are only just beginning to realize that you play a part in this. I can say that you are not going I can say that you are not going to be a family member becoming accepted in the mainstream, because you are not mainstream. You are a founder of the new and the present day. So
that's amazing, isn't it?
I know he's using words like you will be a scholar and there is significance, but in the context of when this was, he's showing me, just like as every individual that is a light worker, and we are working for spirit. Mm-hmm. And I am but a vessel for their voice, because there is a message. So actually, I want to be significant, and I want to be a scholar. I want to be good, because there is so much that needs to be said. They have so much to give and so much advice. So yeah, that's
we all need this so much. Yeah. And it's such a wonderful gift, and I know you dedicate and work really hard. It's not just, oh, it just happens and oh, okay. You dedicate your so many hours and so much of your lifestyle to improving this connection. And you also dedicate a lot of time in helping people with this wonderful gift. So going back to, so thanks for sharing that, but also going back to what Kerry said, and my question as well, is what are tips for people to connect? Can anyone do this? I know you run some beautiful courses that take you through different stages of like the spirit guide connection, the beginning up to really in-depth mentorships, but how do people sort of start this journey? What tips would you give them?
I mean, for me, I'm going to go back to self-awareness, mm-hmm. because I feel it's a big part. We live in a busy world, and not only is it a busy environment, but our minds are so busy as well. To be able to meditate or sit in your power is one of the most productive things you can do. To be able to take time out for yourself and to become familiar with yourself, how you feel, your energy, will allow you to create space for something else to come in, whatever that is, because it's going to be completely different for each person. And what one feather has said to me, which always makes me laugh, he says, well, we don't need to do anything. So that our guides don't need to do anything because they are already here. Your guides are with you. But for us to be aware of them, we have to create the environment where our awareness is elevated enough and we can sense that there is something different to how our familiarity. You know, it's like anything in life. If you want to learn ballet, you buy ballet shoes and a leotard and you go to a ballet class to be taught and to learn. You don't put on a pair of DMs and go to a car park and be in a diver's suit because you're unable to do the moves that you need to do. So we need to be able to cultivate this space that our awareness can come into. So yes, I mean, a space for you to sit in that is beautiful to you so that you can, as you do sit in your power and your energy is elevated, you create, there's a residue that stays and you can pull on that at any time. And, you know, make a date with your guides, make a date with the spirit world. I'm going to come and sit and they will be there. And don't be impatient. Don't be impatient.
I think that's probably one of the worst things with any spiritual journey, whether it's mediumship, psychic awareness, spirit guides. We're all like, okay, this is what I want to do. I am now this, and it's not. There's you know, there's a journey for so much for us to learn. So Sasha Louise is on and she says, how beautiful, felt the emotion of happiness, and thank you for sharing about the message that you read out. And I was just going to ask if there's 10 people on at least at the moment. I can see if any of them have any questions. Let me just go through. And Sharon Cartley says, so interesting that she loves all that you teach us and how to harness our gifts. So do you feel this is why your life guide has come through so that you can pass the knowledge down to a lot of people that can't have this experience without your teachings?
Yeah, I feel initially he came at a time where I needed the self-belief to progress in my development journey. I hesitate to say this, especially if Kerry is on, but I was going to Circle and I was enjoying it. And I was like, yeah, this is good. But I hadn't really fully bought into it.
I thought you were going to say surrendered, which is Kerry's word.
Well, because I wasn't even sure I could do it. So when our connection came in, I sort of was like, this is real, like this can happen for me. And so he really built my confidence and stayed with me until he said, I'm still with you, I'll never leave you, but I'm just going to step back because we now need to bring in other guides for your work. So although he is there and I can call on him and I know he's around, I now, like I started off with one, now I have 9 guides around me, but they help me with my work, with my demonstrations, etc. as well. So what was the other part of your question?
Do you know what? I would love, we must do this again, because I would love, I know we're going to start running out of time, but I would love to know more about your team of guides. And I had a list of questions that haven't even
I talk too much.
No, because it's so interesting. But it would be really lovely to go back to this subject. But really, I think it was really tips for connection, and can anyone achieve this?
Do you know what? Anyone can achieve this, and everybody has guides. Everybody has life guides. You don't have to be pursuing a spiritual pathway to work, you all have a life guide, and they want reunion. They do want reunion. But you know what? We have a tendency to sit back and we're like, I want to do this. Come on then.
Yeah.
Come on. But we have to do the work. You know, if you're going to grow anything in a garden, you prepare the soil, you dig it over, you fertilize it, you plant a seed, and then it grows. And it's a bit like, the way I understand it is we come into this world, we are completely pure when we come into this world. Hopefully we remain so. We're not severed with our connection, but our memories and everything is gone. And so we are never alone. We are never left in solitude. We have a tremendous ability to connect, but we just have to stop the noise. We have to stop the noise. We have to dedicate the time. And I see so many people that want this. They really want it, but it is about discipline, because we're not always motivated. I'm not always motivated to sit in my power, but I'm disciplined enough. I want it enough that I will make that time. So we have to be disciplined and we have to be dedicated, because when we show spirit that we really want this, they're there. It's not a case of they will come. It's a case of, as soon as we clear the clutter, we'll step into that space. And although my journey is quite intense, and I talk about it a lot, your journey with your guide may be completely different. So whereas I move around, because that's how spirit communicate with me, you may be far more visual, or you may be more, you may be audio, it may be thought transference. You may have your smell and your taste. You may, I have, when one feather comes in, and I can smell sage and thyme. And that is I know he's there because of that. And more so because when he shows himself to me, it's as two versions in his life. The version before his father's passing, where he was known as Sue in the tribe, SOO. And then when his father passed and he became a warrior, he then was given one feather. So depending on my need, if I'm all over the place and I'm a little bit chaotic, he'll come in, but it's Sue that steps forward for me, because I need to sit and meditate. So I'm given the peace pipe so that I can smoke and calm my breath and center myself. But then when I need upliftment or courage or counsel, then one feather comes in. And so our guides are very clever. They can show themselves to us in many different ways, at very many stages of our lives and of their life, of what is relevant to us. They're absolutely incredible. There is so much. And I know that I've been blessed and privileged within my journey, but there is so much more. And I often say within my courses, it's not that I just want to share. I need to share. I have to share this message, because in this day and age where people are so, there's so much judgment, people are trying to find their place. Do I fit in? Is it acceptable? We've lost ourselves trying to fit in. And actually, our guides are there to draw us back home. And there is no judgment there. There is no judgment. There is only compassion and love. So even though one feather says my personality needs work, I know he loves me anyway. And he supports me and he says, I'll help you with that. Let's work together on that. So we're never the finished article.
Oh, wonderful. And yeah, it's so true. I mean, I feel, in the last generation now, if you compare our lives to like our grandfathers, or they were more open and perhaps grounded, there was more natural healing, there was more time. And nowadays everything's so fast. I know we have benefits of the internet, but it's constant, bombarding and stimulation. So it really is, as you say, the first step is cutting that, or having hours without it and making space. And Jackie Bailey came on to say she has found the concept of creating space as well so important, because if not, you do get swept away in the life of today. So, and I totally agree. If not, you stop doing it. And sometimes it is just slowing down and remembering that your guides are there, and actually asking them for help instead of just going headlong saying, oh my god, I've got so much to do. It's like, so and
I mean, another thing he has said to me is we talk about guides, but to remember that is our term. We call them guides, but it is far more complex than that, because guides conjure up a person, but there's so much more at play because everything is connected. And as you talk about, years ago people were more connected to grounded and being outside. It's everything. Like our guides are everything around us. Yes. The air we breathe, when we go outside, and it's everything. And for us to be back and connected into that, plugging ourselves back into source, it's incredible. It really is.
Amazing. Well, so inspiring, but I will have to we will come back and do this again, because it is so interesting. You've got so many amazing stories and experiences. And if people want to get in touch with you, they can do so via your website and the membership.
Yes, I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Dawn Smith Psychic Medium, and I have my website as well. And if anybody is interested in a free downloadable ebook about preparing for spirit guide awareness, just let me know and I can email that off to you. It's just 5 simple steps of how to
create
the space you need. So just as a freebie.
So and even you can just comment on here as well, because Dawn or myself will have a look at the comments and take your message. So that's lovely. Everybody here is saying how lovely they've enjoyed it. And Sasha Louise, I love this explanation. More aware of that I'm not alone in this higher connection. Your message is heard. That's lovely.
Bless. Thank you so much.
Well, it has been so lovely talking to you, and we will be back with more. And we're also back. So anyone, if you can like and subscribe, because we will be back. I should have had the dates out, but we will be back in about 2 weeks' time on here. I think Kerry's been interviewed. Yes. But we also are going live to do some readings on Wednesday evening in the Infinite Soul Circle group. Myself and Dawn and Kerry, maybe, we will be going live to do some readings at 6 p.m. GMT. And that's this Wednesday, the 13th?
Yes, and I believe
it's tomorrow.
we're back interviewing Kerry on the 18th.
Fantastic.
And that's good, because Kerry is fabulous, does fabulous work with the soul. So not to be missed.
Yeah, can't wait for that either. So so if you like and subscribe, and then also pop over to the Facebook Infinite Soul Circle group, so you can keep updated with all the stuff we're doing. Oh, well, thanks for your time, Dawn, and thanks for all that lovely information. And thank you everybody for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
No, I don't know.